Welcome to the deposit.
We are on episode number 7. We're so excited to have you join us this morning. So come on in, say hello in the comments, and tell us where you're watching from.
Yes, and we're so very excited to just continue to do this and be able to share real life stories about God impacting lives in just amazing places that that is so random, but yet God decides to show up and impact lives. And so we love this platform that we've created because we're just ordinary people, just using what God has deposited in us
to encourage you to use what God has deposited in you.
And so today we have really good friends on, and we're really excited to share this divine appointment with you.
Yeah, so back in 2019, friends of ours at Livewell Collective, an interior design company, they have a storefront downtown Abbotsford, and they invited our daughter Janaea to be one of their feature artists for the Abbotsford Art and Wine Walk. It's an event that that the city puts on every year where people come, they buy tickets, and they come and see the artists that are in each of the shops and do a little wine tasting along the way. And so for most of you, you probably know that our daughter Janaea makes some seriously yummy cakes and gorgeous cakes from scratch. And of course, we were so excited for her.
Yeah, and so on that night of the event, we, being the crazy proud parents that we are, we were there to support her. We handed out business cards and we directed people over to her samples. And Janaea made her delicious signature strawberry cake.
Yeah.
And a gutsy salt and pepper cake that lit up the taste buds of the event. So much so that she won first place for the event.
I know. It was such a fun night.
Yeah.
There was just a bustle of people coming in through the shop. Towards the middle of the evening, people were like bringing their friends back to come and taste. There was like a buzz around the people about these cakes that were at Live Well. And so people were coming to taste them. And it was a couple hours into the night. The room was full, and I was at the front door just greeting people coming in. And this guy comes to the front door and he's just like, "Hey, I recognize you." And so we're so excited to have our friends Runar and Cecilia to come in and share just an awesome divine appointment that they had with the Lord that night, right in Abbotsford at the Art and Wine Walk.
So we just want to welcome them on today.
Hey.
Hey.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, we're so excited for you guys to just come on and share your story and what God did in the midst of this just incredible event that was happening. So how about you just introduce yourselves and just tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, our story is that we actually met in Abbotsford, Canada, believe it or not.
Wow.
About 24 years ago, right?
Yeah, 24 years ago. That was awesome.
Yeah, and we've now been married for 22 years. Actually, in a couple of days, the 19th of June. Yeah.
Well, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
And we used to live in a city of the southern part of Norway. We lived there for 19 years.
Wow.
Before we moved. And yeah, so we have 4 kids, 2 teenagers, an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old. So
and one just graduated. Right?
Yeah, one is graduated this year. So that was amazing. And also we work together in the ministry, both doing administration.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's so cool. We're so glad to have you join us today. And so just tell us a little bit about what brought you to the Art and Wine Walk that night.
So a good friend of mine had actually surprised me with a ticket to the Arts and Wine Walk. I didn't know about it. So as a birthday present. So yeah, that was so exciting.
We were almost getting finished, we had probably been at 25 places before we And so our friends were talking, should we go up this last road? Yeah, let's do that, and we'll see what's there. So we went up there, and we started walking, and all of a sudden we went past Live Well. Never been there before, never heard of that place before. And Cecilia's, or our friend, her sister came out of the place exactly when we went past the place. And she says, oh, hi, how you guys doing? Oh, you guys are here too. Yeah, we are. So they started chatting and, connecting. And me and Cecilia were like, yeah, maybe we should go in there. Yeah, let's go in there. So we started walking up the stairs, and I'm a type of guy that recognizes people straight away, their faces, and I don't forget faces. And I looked at Dinah Lee, and I'm like, hey, I've seen you before. You're very recognizable. And then you looked at me. Yeah, you probably have. And yeah, I wonder where, I said. And yeah, it's probably, do you know my husband? His name is Brian. He's in the back there. And you turned around and pointed, and I looked. I'm like, oh, now I know. You're the wall runs. Yes, I know who your husband Brian is. He actually preached at our church 2-3 months ago. Yeah, because I remember, because I played electric guitar on our worship team in our church, and I was playing that Sunday morning. So I remember everything. And they're like, wow, you guys got to go back and say hi to Brian. And we're like, yeah, okay, we'll do that.
Runar and Cecilia, I'm so glad that y'all decided to come in that moment, because we would not have been able to experience this divine appointment and all that came from it.
That's so true. Yeah. We went in, and first we saw Janaea's cake table on the right-hand side, and we thought, okay, let's go check out these wonderful cakes. So we
salt and pepper. That was incredible.
It was really tasty. So we got to taste that, and we thought, okay, let's go over to Brian and just introduce ourselves to him. And, we went over.
And I remember you coming over as I was showing Janaea's cakes. And I was full of passion, just sharing them, all this stuff that I never knew before Janaea started baking. But I was just sharing these different things. And I remember while I was sharing that an overwhelming feeling of urgency came over me. And I just said, whoa. I stopped and I said, whoa. Something big is happening with you. And you have decided to take some big steps of faith. And I want you to know that God will reward you for your obedience, because it's no small thing that you guys did. And God will work out the details. And I just sense that God put something before you that took a lot of courage to do, and that you actually did it. And I had no idea what it was at the time, and it seemed so weird to even say that in a place that is so filled with so many people, bustling, and it was like they were all crowding around us, and there was that moment that happened. And so at that point, what did that word mean to you at the time?
Well, we had moved from Norway in 2018, so we were back in Norway just a month prior to this in 2019, and we had just sold our house, and that, of course, we had dragged our kids halfway across the world, and because we were led by the Lord, so that was like a confirmation for us, what you said. And God said. So things were, things were uncertain, and we didn't know how things would work out. And it was a big step for us, and it was scary. So that was a good confirmation. In the midst of that room full of people and lots of noise and energy, it just felt like time stopped or just stood still. And God was speaking directly to our hearts, and he was there in that moment, like tangible. He was there, and making the move and the selling of the house, that was very scary. And that confirmed the steps we had just taken a month prior. So it settled in our hearts what we had just done.
Yeah.
God's will. So yeah, that was
Mm. Yeah, and we were standing in this place. I don't know how many people, 50, 60, 70 people around, and we just started weeping. And usually I don't start weeping in front of 60, 70 people. I don't know.
Wow.
And it's almost like I forgot about everything, and I just felt so refreshed, and I felt shaken in a good way, refreshed, and just felt the presence of God was all around. So yeah, it was awesome.
Awesome.
I remember actually saying, now that you say, I think about it, I remember saying that, what, God is proud of you for taking the steps that you've taken. And that and I think that it's because he delights when his children take him at his word and follow through and have the courage to believe him for what he says. And I believe that God is behind us when he tells us our answers to do these things. He's doing it because he has something great in store. He's just like, please, come on, believe it. Come on, step out, because you may not know what is going to happen, but God has incredible plans for us when he directs us to do some things that are out of our comfort zone, and we will only find that out when we do it.
Totally.
And Cecilia, it just seems to me that God brought you at that point, at that time, as you were celebrating your birthday, knowing all of the uncertainty, knowing all of the fears and all of the questions, to just let you know that that you made the right decision and that he was going to take care of the details.
Yeah, God's timing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
His timing is always incredible and right on time, isn't it? So since obeying God's leading to step out of your comfort zone and move all the way from Norway to Canada, can you share with us just some of the things that has changed in your life because of your just obedience to follow God?
Oh yes, I would say everything has changed after that. God has, I would say I can share the story. When I was young, about 22 years old, a gentleman in our church in Norway, he came over to me, and I wasn't the guy that always got a word, prophetic word back then. And he came over to me and he looks at me in like a very serious way, and he says, Abraham, he went in hope and faith. So and I'm like, wow, okay. I back then I felt very, I didn't hear God's voice clearly. So I thought, okay, thank you for that word. I didn't understand it. Over the years, I thought about it a few times and what it was. But today, after taking these steps of obedience, learning to hear God's voice and being obedient and going in faith, I look back inside now and I see, wow, God actually really spoke to us back then, but we had earplugs in and we didn't hear him. So he actually started talking about this 23 years ago today. So yeah, it's we've learned it's changed our lives because of being obedient. Number one, when you're obedient and walk in faith, God shows up. And we had in our life back where we came from in Norway, we had a good life. I'm not going to say it was bad. We lived in a nice house, and one day I heard God say to me a couple of years ago. He said, that house in Norway, that's always been your security. And that's not your security anymore. I'm your security.
Wow.
I'm the one alone as your security.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, also other results of our obedience or our yes is we have seen a lot of breakthroughs in our lives and also personal transformations, and God increases our capacity and we grow. And we actually also discovered our true identity as his son and daughter. And that's been so good. And we also learn to rest and be more patient and actually trusting in his timing, as we talked about.
I just want to mention that, yeah, when we moved or sold our house, we actually sold everything we owned, like physically, like our interior of our house. And the only thing we brought with us were our suitcases. And, you know, and the amazing thing about God is he also always redeems what you have, let's say, call it lost. You know, we sold everything we had on Facebook Marketplace, and you know, you don't get a lot of money for that stuff on there.
And we also gave away a lot of things.
Gave away, you know, sold our car cheap, and just, you know, sold everything. And how God redeemed all of that when we moved here. It's amazing. I mean, how we got this house we now have. It's funny because the same house we had in Norway, it was built in May 2006, and this house we received now is also finished, you know, built in May 2006. It's funny, the same kind of street, same kind of neighbors, everything. It's just amazing how you know, how God gives it back to you. And the same way, the church we go in now, it's an amazing church, amazing pastors, and the connections we've got.
We call it our home.
Yeah.
It's your home. So, you know, and God, you know, everything, he has redeemed everything and much, much more. I mean, through this season of moving, and especially the last year, all the connections we've had now around the world, around Canada now, and you guys, it's been amazing.
That's
awesome.
Lots of divine connections.
Yeah, it's so good, you know, because you leave your friends and your family behind, and you know, you need that when you're going to the new place too. And so God's just really restored that for you. So that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was 1997 that I actually moved up to Canada as well. And I remember somebody saying this to me, that that God will redeem or give back everything that you've given up. He is faithful to us as we follow him. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, that's so good to hear.
So good, yeah.
And even how he's preparing you for the future things that you have is going on as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's you know, God, he in this season, he's ushering us forward into something. You know, we're starting to see what it is, but it's like a puzzle, and God is just showing up here and there, and it's been amazing. It is amazing.
Lots of divine appointments.
Yeah.
That is so great to hear, because when we step out and do those things, or step out into of our comfort zone, something happens in us. You know, things that because we saw God do something, now we have faith that he can do it. When we're scared out of our minds, we don't know how anything's going to work out. When it does actually work out, it just goes, man, it just builds our faith, because we know that we're not doing this alone. You know, and so and we personally can see the change that's happened in your life over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's been amazing to see how God's brought your identity, how God's built your faith, but also opened you up to step out of your comfort zone even more.
So what would you offer advice to people who are facing challenges too, or having to make radical steps that are out of their comfort zone?
Of course, pray. And I would say rest in his presence and trust his timing, as I said, what he's asking you to do. I just say that his plans are so much better than ours.
And
of course,
great reward.
Yeah. And of course, read and be filled through his word. God confirmed everything through his word. So trust in him and don't be afraid.
After praying and getting a word from God, and just learning to hear his voice, then the next thing that we need to do is to actually do it, to step out in faith, step out of our comfort zone, and actually be obedient to what he's speaking to us, even if we're crazy scared out of our mind. At this point, I just wanted to share a piece that I did a couple of years ago called Walk on Water. And I think it really speaks to the journey that you've been through and parts of what we've been through. And I think that God is just beckoning us out to walk on water so that we could see the good things that he has for us.
Walk on water too. Here we go. Nobody's perfect. See, we all have fallen, but remember that Jesus was there for you when he caught you. Remember what happened when you heard the word that changed your life and all that it taught you. Most importantly, remember the price that was paid with his precious blood that bought you. See, we need to face the fear with action and go beyond the good intentions and thoughts. See, it's time to do what you've been called to do now. Get out of the boat. It's time to walk on water. People dream and imagine, but never do what they ought to. Others plan and administrate, always trying to negotiate and barter. While others create, invent, and make things, but never finish, so there's no departure. So you have to understand it all goes in the garbage. If you don't execute your plan, you can't go any farther. God's got you. Step out in faith. Trust him with the rest. It's time to walk on water. So you got to this point and nobody knows all the obstacles and challenges you fought through. You tried to run away, but you didn't ask for this. God came after you and sought you. It appears that you've been fighting for years through many tears, ignoring the voice of the Father. Listen to me. Fighting God leads to misery. Being safe doesn't mean security. You are his son and daughter. People may say you're dumb, but you couldn't be any smarter. How can you lose when God is your partner? The world is waiting to see how God set you free. So obey the call, step out of the boat, and walk on the water.
And so it's time to walk on water. We don't have time to waste because you know what? Obedience moves the hand of God. It's not just about the obedience. God has purpose on the other side of the obedience. God is not punishing us, but he's positioning us and our families to step out in faith and also to be able to see the good things he has prepared for us.
Even when we talk about Janaea doing all those cakes that night, if she had like chickened out or decided that she wasn't capable of doing that, she wouldn't have reaped the rewards. I mean, she won the first place artist of the event. She gained confidence. She made cakes that she had never made before. She was asked to just make display cakes, but she was like, no, I have to make them real. And so she ended up selling all the cakes that she made that night and then winning this first prize place. It was an incredible experience for her. It gave her exposure and it grew her business. And so she was just, had that opportunity too, to go, God, do I trust you in this or do I shrink back and not do it? And we were just so incredibly proud of her, and she just reaped such a great reward for stepping out and doing that night.
And you know what? It is so true. We say it a lot, but unless you do the things that you've never done, you'll never get to see the things that you've never seen. Unless you rise to the challenge and be courageous to do the things that are out of your comfort zone, you'll never get to see the good things that God has prepared you and the fulfillment of those promises that he has spoken. The word for someone today is this: you've prayed so much, there's no more time for praying. You've planned so much and the planning is over. And you talked about it for so long. Now it's time to take hold of Jesus's hand and walk on water.
Yeah, it's so cool. And, since that night that we met, had this just awesome, very cool divine appointment, the Lord has just we've had the opportunity to develop a awesome friendship. We have just grown to love you guys so much and be able to encourage one another in the things that God has for each of our lives. I mean, you guys were also one of the first people to say, hey, you should think about doing a broadcast. And you guys have prayed into that with us and really encouraged us. And you guys have been on the show on viewing almost every week. And we just want you to know that we so appreciate you guys. We are so thankful that the Lord connected our lives that night. And we're so grateful that you're on the show today, that we've talked about for so long.
Yeah. And I remember us talking for months talking about doing this and doing the broadcast. And I remember just saying, I don't know if we even have anything to say or if this would even work. And then both of you just said, you just encouraged us, and we're just so thankful to see it has come. We stepped out of our comfort zone, stepped out of the boat, and now we're walking with him and seeing lives change.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just want to say thank you so much for your willingness to come on the broadcast and share your story with us. And
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we so appreciate you guys, and we love you guys too, and we so appreciate this friendship, and looking forward to the future and the next seasons ahead.
Absolutely.
Well,
we love you guys. Thanks
for you guys too.
And we will talk to you later.
And so that was Runar and Cecilia, our good friends. And we hope that this story has blessed you and encouraged you. And we know that God has some great things for them as they have stepped out in faith and have come over the Atlantic Ocean to Canada for a new start. And for any of you that are being challenged, and just know that God has spoken to your heart to step out in some way, whether it's big or small, there's a blessing on the other side of obedience.
Absolutely. Amen, honey. Amen. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody, today. Be blessed, and we will see you next week for episode 8.
All right.
Have a good day.